Good afternoon and welcome to everybody who's joining us online for this launch of the Sahara Challenge 2027. And welcome to our live audience here at Vista Motion at Hero ERA at the headquarters. Thank you all for being with us. It's hopefully going to be a very stimulating launch indeed, very exciting one. Thank you as well to the members of the media who are with us this afternoon and those who are with us online. Just to let you all know that the media release and the media pack will be sent out, dispatched to you after the question and answer session. So, after that big welcome, what can we say about the 5th Sahara Challenge? Well, it has a difference, a heck of a difference. It has a twist in as much as it's going all the way to Dakar. And that name conjures up many thoughts for many of us, but 5,250 kilometers, 21 days. It's going to be a super endurance event. It's going to be open immediately after the question and answer session today, so you can put your entries in. And it is the destination of rally champions since 1978, of course, Dakar, which is where they all headed to. So let me tell you who we've got with us today, starting on my left. Then you all know, of course, Guy Woodcock, who's competition director for Hero ERA. Eleonora Piccolo, who is hospitality director for Hero ERA, and then Thomas de Vargas Machuca, who is our chairman, and they're going to be talking through the event with none other than John Spiller, who is remote as we speak, and there he is, in Dubai. Nice wave from John. Now, he doesn't like me saying this, but first of all, he's a multi-Middle East rally champion in terms of a navigator. He's put on events throughout the world. He's a desert expert. He works with us on P2P. He ran the Subaru ProDrive team in the halcyon days when we unfortunately worked together, or vice versa. But John is hugely experienced. He's designed the route for this fantastic rally. So before we hear from everybody, let's have a little bit of a flavour, a little bit of taster for the Sahara Challenge.
In 2027, the 5th Sahara Challenge follows in legendary rally tracks as we venture from Portugal's capital, Lisbon, through Spain and Morocco to the destination of rally legends since the first Paris-Dakar rally in 1978. Promising to be the most adventurous and toughest yet, this qualifying event for the 2028 Peking to Paris rally is not for the faint-hearted and will be as tough as any on the calendar. The 19-day, 5,250-kilometer route will take teams through the massive expanse of the Moroccan Sahara Desert into unknown territory. Leaving Europe and tracing a route from Tangiers, known as the gateway to Africa, we head south to take in the Rif and Atlas mountain ranges. We will experience the culture of the real Morocco, its winding mountain roads, wadis, breathtaking landscapes, and that 60s hippie Mecca, Marrakesh, with its teeming markets, will surely stand out as one of the many jewels in the crown of our journey. With fierce competition driving competitors on through demanding sporting sections, this will be a genuine adventure and a truly cultural experience for even the most seasoned explorer. So take on this awesome desert challenge and join Hero ERA on the Sahara Challenge 2027.
Thomas, this is quite different, quite a story. Very different Sahara Challenge this time.
Look, I mean, after 4 editions running effectively, from Spain into Morocco and back to Spain, we wanted to kind of rejuvenate it. I mean, obviously, so many people follow our rallies and participate on our rallies, so we always have to be, if you want, on the cutting edge of trying to make events more and more exciting. Now, of course, we have a natural barrier, which is where can you go from a geopolitical perspective? And so some countries close, unfortunately, for war and other reasons. Other ones open up. One of these has been the Moroccan Sahara, formerly known as the Western Sahara, which now allows us safe passage down to this iconic Dakar. So we're adding, Moroccan Sahara, Mauritania, and Senegal. And these are actually, when you include Morocco, the safest strip in the North African, if you want, part of the African continent. So really excited that we could get it, and great to have such a wonderful team that has so much experience with these terrains in this part of the world.
Well, Sahara Challenges have always been billed as tough, and this is the toughest. In fact, it's called a super endurance event, so it's not for the faint-hearted, is it?
Look, we have a kind of a duty of care to our participants to make sure that we properly represent and they properly understand how tough these events are, or how more leisurely they may be. And so we've changed the concept, not only by describing the events with a typical steering wheel, which defines, a bit like skiing, black slope, red, blue, yellow, and green. But also in terms of other elements of the format, we have now rallying, which is the typical format which you would find, say, in Europe. Endurance rallies, so the longer ones of that, and then the super endurance, which are really what you'd expect on something like this, something like the Peking to Paris, the Gaucho, where you've got longer days, tougher terrains, and the super is meant to be a telltale, so you kind of, you super yourself up as well.
But into the last 6 days, which will literally be a sting, because it's that huge emptiness, just dunes, wispy dunes, nothing, nobody, that feeling of incredible remoteness which people are going to experience. They've got to get through that to get to Dakar.
Yeah, so look, no different to previous Paris-Dakars, the authentic events that we all kind of fell in love with in the late 70s and 80s. There will be nights of camping. There's the only way. There's no infrastructure. So bivouacs from the same providers who organize the Paris-Dakar. And I think that's a welcome element, an authentic element, and not something that everybody can say that they will have done. So with that in mind, it was a fun element to add to this.
I mean, I should ask people not to worry at this point, because John Spiller will give you practical reasons why not to worry and why it's all right for two-wheel drive. He will explain all of that. But you should explain to people who are thinking about entering in Pioneer class or Vintage class. Will they get through? How tough is it? Because you've done it. You've done it in La France, you've done it in the Bentley, in deserts.
Well, if there's a will, there's a way. If the wonderful thing about, driving a Pioneer class is rallying in slow motion. I mean, you really get to choose what rocks you have to avoid, because it takes a little while before they hide behind the radiator. Look, anything which has motoring relevance is going to be accepted. Of course, we're big promoters of Pioneer class cars. If you can't, venture into that kind of agricultural engineering space, vintage cars, open top Lagondas, Rileys, Bentleys, Invictas, I mean, you name it. They're all very welcome, as are obviously vintage cars, so 1940s cars, typically, the Fangers, the Buicks, and those big American V8s. Then clearly for those who want a bit more spice and a bit more responsiveness, you get into the classics with a typical suite of 911s, Peugeot 504s, Lancia Beta coupes, and all those other very 70s cars.
Sorry, Thomas, but just to illustrate your point,
yeah.
There's Jorge Perez Companc, for example, previous winner of Sahara Challenge in 2024, and that's a vintage car, isn't it?
Yeah, so that's what we call a vintage car. So that's a 1940s Chevrolet Deluxe, aka known as the Chevrolet Fangers, because the great Juan Manuel Fangio used to rally these before he went on to obviously on track, and they keep that ethics. They're wonderful. They're obviously all the weight saving, if you want, surgery has been applied to those wings and whatnot. So yeah, this is exactly what I mean in terms of finding that balance between a relatively reliable car, also in the kind of pre-war segment. But classic car, that's obviously a beautiful Bentley. I think that's Bill Kleindert in his Super Sports. But anyway, classics, Ford Escorts, 911s, Datsuns, we saw some on the video. And then a bit like we have on other events, we'll have on invitation only, because it depends on how iconic the cars are, up to 985 on invitation, and classic 4x4s. Again, welcome FJs, Toyota FJs, Nissan Patrols, early Series 1 Range Rovers, Land Rover Series 1s, because all these cars are part and parcel of the African continent. That's where they were probably designed to survive those terrains in past times. I mean, everybody can picture a Range Rover in Kenya or a Land Rover in kind of Namibia, and same Land Cruiser FJ. So why not give a little bit of space to something that has authentic motoring heritage in that part of the world?
But this event also is linked to Peking to Paris 2028, in as much as that it's a qualifying event or a shakedown event.
Yeah, qualifying shakedown events. So the biggest feedback that we have on long distance super endurance, if you want, formats, is to make sure that all the participants are as clued up as reasonably possible. Before they take on such mammoth events. And so the format is almost a replica of the Peking to Paris in terms of the intensity of the event, the terrain, the heat, the mountains, everything else, a little bit of camping. Because I'm hoping that if you don't like 18 days of this, you're not going to go and venture, for 50 plus, in the middle of much more remote, distant lands. I mean, we're not far away from Europe here. I mean, I know it's exotic, but Morocco is really a stone throw away from Spain, obviously. So get it off your chest. If you like it, then you'll know that you're perfect for P2P, Gaucho, or any other kind of super endurance event.
Thank you, Thomas. Right, Guy, let's come to you now, because super endurance, black-coded event for experts only. It's going to be tough. We haven't even talked about the competition yet, so give us an idea what is waiting for would-be competitors on Sahara Challenge 2027.
Yeah, I mean, I think it will fit very much into the format of the P2P and other events of a similar nature. So there will be a combination, and I'm sure John will put together an excellent route with regularities, which are part and parcel of what we need to do now. But the main crux of this event, I think, will be the STC sections, which are sporting time control sections. So they're the fun element, that most of the competitors seem to enjoy. You get chance to, you're not worrying about speed tables or where you're going, it's going the right way and having some fun, basically. So that's the main element. But there will be long days. I mean, we've got to get from Lisbon to Dakar in 18 days, and some of the days may be 400 or 500 kilometres long. Some of the days may be transit days. Until John does the detailed recce, we certainly are very aware of what we know what we're doing in Lisbon, in Portugal and Spain. Morocco, we've got a huge experience of doing that. We're going a little bit into the unknown once we go into Western Sahara and further south. So but it's been done before, and we've got the right person doing the job to come up with the best route possible and the best bits of competition.
But you add to that, it is the desert. Is climatic. It could be sandstorms, difficult for navigation, huge rain, your tent might blow away. You've got to factor that in, haven't you?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think, from my point of view, if you've done these events before, you'll sort of know what to expect, because the weather can change, as we found on Peking Paris, overnight, and goes from one thing to the other, from sandstorms to thunderstorms. And certainly the last Sahara, we were very lucky. The week after we did Sahara, most of the area we did our rally in was flooded. And we would have not been able to run. So you have to work to the conditions. Again, the other thing that is very important, we reiterate this, is we can design the route, and we can only design the route based on what we see at the time. You turn up and all of a sudden there has been a flood the day before, or there's heavy rainfall and the road's a lot slippier or muddier or whatever, and then we will try and adapt the route to suit those conditions as best we can. But in the middle of a day, if something happens, we have to just respect that the event we're running, and competitors need to drive to the conditions, and that's a very important thing. And I know Thomas is very strong on this. It is, if those conditions change, we have no real control over the weather, although we like to think sometimes we do. Certainly Thomas, I know, does. But we need to have that scenario where you need to think about self-preservation and drive to the conditions.
We talked about classic 4x4s. invitation class. We had a few on Peking to Paris this year. We encourage more. Do you want to see them out there?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's an area of our entries we want to expand upon, and it is looking at those classics like the early Range Rovers, the Toyotas, FJs, and Land Cruisers, and Hiluxes, that they can be part of the event, and they're also very useful for us as a team. That we, those people who enter those vehicles are very much expected to sort of join in the team and help out, particularly if we come across any areas of soft sand or mud that we've not expected. They're very useful to help tow the vehicles out. Although we have a fleet of our own Hiluxes, more modern ones, we certainly find that any competitors in 4x4 are very useful to us as an organisation and are normally welcomed with something a little bit iconic.
Okay, great. Thanks for now, Guy. Well, let's turn to John Spiller now, who's sitting patiently in his office in Dubai because he's designed part of the route already, working closely with Guy and the team. John, I know you have a passion anyway for Africa, North Africa and the deserts because of your success there as well. But just talk us through from the start to the finish in Dakar, the highlights as you see it chronologically.
You can hear me?
Yeah, we've got you loud and clear. Go ahead, John.
Yeah. Okay, so I see this as a rally with a huge difference. We go through the full spectrum, starting in Lisbon. We have two, what you might call European classic days, maybe to get the rust off your brains and understand the road book again. Two classic days down through Portugal and Spain to Tarifa, and then a very short half-hour ferry crossing, which actually takes no time because with the time difference you arrive when you left Spain. Then we stay in Tangier, which is a fascinating city in itself. I went there on a school cruise in 1964. It's changed a lot. But then we're in Africa. And as we head south through the entire rally, the terrain develops, the culture develops. We speak French as we leave Tangier. We speak Spanish as we head south, and then eventually Berber. And the people of Morocco, I think, are probably the most charming I've come across anywhere in the world. And Thomas will probably testify to that, but we're moving on. So we leave Tangier, and it's similar terrain to southern Spain in some ways, because we go up through the cork forests, climbing quiet back roads, sinuous hairpins. We make a bit of a detour through Chefchaouen, which is the famous blue city. If you don't paint your house blue, apparently you have to pay double the rates. So every house is blue. Then we have a lovely Moroccan tagine. I think it's the best in Morocco at a lovely little farmhouse that is one of our regular haunts. And then we head off towards the current capital. They change the capital every so often in Morocco, of Rabat, which is actually fairly heavily subsidized by the UAE, and all the sheikhs from the UAE spend their summers there and have their palaces. But it's quite a special city on the Atlantic coast. And then head back in via a bit of sort of some nice Roman ruins to Fez, which was the historic capital of Morocco. And if anybody's got the energy, the Medina there is probably, I think it's one of the largest expanses of city which is traffic free and is simply charming. Then we go out into the national parks, and I think it's beautiful terrain, open fields. Then we go into the forests, which unfortunately suffered some pretty heavy fires in the recent years. So the the view changes, but it's what I call the Lake District. Lots of reservoirs, and then some interesting navigation and testing navigation and testing regularities off road to the ski resort of Mishnafin, where if we can get the reservations, you'll stay in the King's Hotel, which is simply amazing. Then heading south, we begin to get a bit more deserty, if that's the word, down to Food, which Food is what you might call the mecca of rally testing and filming of Bond films. Spectre was filmed there. You might see a little bit of a connection to that as we play around in the thing. As we go out for a loop, Food to play in the dunes and get the off-road navigation up to speed. Now, I should say that people should not be put off by the photographs that came up on the slides where cars stuck on deep sandbanks and climbing dunes. There will be none of that. I am very aware that we are limited by two-wheel drive. And that's not to say there will be no sand, but if I don't judge that you can get through it with a bit of skill and momentum, we won't be going over it. You might get 200 meters of soft sand, but like I say, with momentum and a little bit of know-how, and you'll get through. So don't be put off by those cars digging themselves out of horrific sand dunes and what have you. I don't know where they got those pictures from. From our Food, we head for a new destination to us. We go over the High Atlas with a nice picnic lunch at Imilchil with my good friend Mohammed puts on for us. We go to Benwardine, which is on a lakeside. Then it's a little bit unknown for me as we head to Marrakesh for your day off. And as the slides are painted, it's the most amazing atmospheric city. If you've got time after you've serviced your cars to head to the Medina in the evening, snake charmers, goat's head salad, God knows, everything. Moving on from there, we head to Aswara on the coast, the Atlantic coast, a beautiful old port. Again, bit of a quieter Medina for those who were too tied up changing their oil the night before. It's windy. It's known as the Windy City, but it's full of charm. I love it personally. And then we head south to Agadir, which is actually a well-known tourist resort. But we go through some lovely countryside, the argan trees, orchards of them, some fairly good climbs, some descents, and then we head south towards the southern border of Morocco and enter Spanish Sahara. From there, the whole tempo probably changes because we're now going rapidly south into the Moroccan Sahara, Western Sahara, and there are more options off-road there than I can possibly choose from, but that's to be sorted out when we go to finalize the route. Now we're getting, people say the empty quarter. It's not quite the empty quarter, but the nature of the terrain changes significantly. It gets more wild, more remote. And in some ways, the rules change a little bit because you have to work as a team. if the days are long, you have to share the driving and get through. And unfortunately, Ellie's let us down, so there aren't hotels everywhere. So there might be a bit of roughing it camping, but quite frankly, by that time in the rally, you'd sleep on your bonnet. But there we are. As we go south, eventually to the iconic final destination of Dakar. Hopefully we finish as per Dakar along the beach and the Lac Rose to, the end of a rally that's taken you from the port of Portugal to, I'm not sure what they brew in Senegal, but I'm sure they brew something. We get a huge variety in Morocco, something for everybody. If you can cope with Morocco, then you can cope with the West African section. I'd love to be in Portugal myself, but I'm sure I'll be duty bound to be there, ready in Tangier to greet you. That really sums it up, I think.
All right. John,
just be reassured that you don't have to, you won't have impossible sand to get across. And if we get some four-wheel drive entries, well, there's always someone coming along.
Yeah, exactly. John, thank you for that. It's very, very colourful, very exciting indeed. And I know, John, that you will, along with Guy, make sure that it is passable, but there will be some exciting STC sections in what is the equivalent of their empty quarters. That's very exciting. And also to actually make it to the finish at Dakar, Thomas, that's going to be some achievement. Even though it's the destination Dakar, that's an achievement. This is one hell of a rally.
Look, I think we had that in mind. I mean, getting to Dakar, if you're into motorsport, is as iconic as driving down to Le Mans or going to Monza or Monaco. So this is the African rally destination akin to Monte Carlo for Group B cars. Look, hopefully these will be areas of the world that will embrace peace and protect it. And so hopefully we're going to be pioneering something that other people will follow in. But what an opportunity to go and see what so few people have seen with our beloved classic cars and with a team which breathes more octane than they breathe fresh air. So yeah, Dakar, great place to get there, yeah.
So, Ellie, you haven't managed to build any hotels in that vast expanse of desert yet.
2 years.
Yeah. What are you going to do? We're going to camp?
We're going to camp. We're going to have our own mobile camps that will be there just before the crews arrive, and they will be dismantled just after the crews have gone.
But that in itself will be a great experience, right? Those that have done it, for example, on P2P, it's enjoyable. You're in desolate circumstances.
Absolutely. It adds to the atmosphere and to the sense of challenge and adventure, because when you're in such remote locations, not always is possible to get fixed accommodation, so we'll make our own.
So there's one day off, as I hear it, and that's Marrakesh. That's a pretty special place, if you get time, as John said, when you fixed your car.
Yes. It's only one non-driving day, and it will be Marrakesh, and I'm sure that after some laundry duty and car fixing duties, everyone should have the time to explore the old Medina, have a nice lunch, maybe a man to relax a bit before joining the crazy square in the evening for some entertainment. As John mentioned, there's anything from storytellers to snake charmers to anything that you may want to try.
Now, the hotels that you do find will vary a bit. I think you should explain that to everybody.
Sure. So this is one of the events where the route decides where you will be, and therefore accommodation can vary quite dramatically from nice or even luxurious hotels to more rustic ones. So it would be a gradient of variation depending on where we are to conquer the wilderness that we're going to go through.
Okay, great stuff. Nice shot there of Jorge, the winner, Perez Compact. And I'm sure he's online. I know he's online listening to this as well, thinking, right, I'm going back for this one. I'm sure he absolutely is. So Thomas, you're smiling away. Can you summarise this 5th Sahara Challenge for us?
Look, I think it's the best of all worlds, because you're going through the beauties of Portugal, Spain, the mountains of Morocco, if you like, hairpins. I don't know if John can pull off the snow up in the mountain resort, but either way, and then all of a sudden, click your fingers and you're in the middle of, the big dunes of that part of Africa. So, there aren't that many places in the world where you can see such dramatic change in the landscape and in the roads that you drive, the types of roads, all in one event within 2 weeks. I mean, usually the distances are so far that you can't really do it on the same rally unless you're spending, like on the P2P, 60 days in a car. So it's a wonderful kind of compromise. Look, some of the good features is that clearly, unlike some other events, the transport costs are half the price because you're starting from a European location. I mean, of course, for our US friends, you have to get the cars across the pond, but you don't have the transport there and the transport back that adds on to costs. We'll be following on with our, broad bracket, back of the envelope pricing. Roughly 2,200 pounds sterling per day per car, so 1,100 per person, all inclusive. I think it's a wonderful opportunity. We're looking to have about 40 cars on the event, depending on what Eleonora and her team finds in terms of accommodation. If we can increase it, to 50, we'll look at that. Not too many cars. As it gets complicated to find locations to find. But that's roughly the format, and I'm definitely not sure what car, and I'll probably be a pre-war car, but I'm putting in my entry early.
Well, that's a very good point, because we've been very fortunate, certainly in the last year or so now, that our events are filling up and seem to be attractive to a lot of people in different guises as well. Would you advocate an early entry on this one?
Yeah, look, and I want to do it sincerely, not as a marketing point. We're grateful that the community of motoring adventurers, if I could say, have come out of the woodwork or sorted out their calendars, but there seems to be a revival of people who want to see the world in analog cars that can be fixed roadside, which a lot of the modern ones cannot. And we had this incredible positive for us, and unfortunate for those who didn't get in on our South American event, the Gaucho Trail. We were fully subscribed within 2 weeks, and are running a reserve list, which is bigger than the entry list. We had a fantastic pickup on our South America, on our Arabic Peninsula event, the Badawi Trail, next year. Actually, P2P 2028, we're effectively, for all intents and purposes, full, should we accept some of the entries that have requested an entry, but have to, do shakedown events, find a car, prepare themselves. But so there's a good revival of people. So if you really want to do it, it works with you from a pricing, car, experience, location, destination, and general attractiveness. Then just put in your entry, or at least reserve a place.
And if you do it this week, there's 5%.
Yeah, that's a good prompt. Thank you. So for all of our events, we want to reward those who are early committers. So there's a 5% discount, obviously, for those, which every little helps, I should say. And for those who are 35 or younger, at the day of their putting in an entry, not the day in which the rally starts, there's a 30% discount, and that's our way to subsidize the next generation of rally enthusiasts. We don't have 30% margin, so this is really a genuine subsidy. But if we all pitch in, we'll keep this wonderful sport and activity alive for the next generation. So we're not the end users of something that we inherited from our forefathers.
Okay, well, that's the formal part of the launch of 2027, the Sahara Challenge. And as I said, the page will go live on our website for you to enter after the question and answer session, which we will go into now. So for those of you online, you can see that section at the bottom of your page where you can send us your questions and they will come through to me here. I already have 2 that have come in, and questions from the audience as well. Caitlin will come round with the microphone. And the reason for that is, without the microphone, we can't hear you on the stream. So if you wouldn't mind, Caitlin will come round and take any questions from you at the same time. So I just wanted to start with, I think Belinda Moser from Switzerland has said, I haven't been through Morocco before. How friendly are the locals? Are they a bit anti or generally welcoming? John Spiller, that's for you.
I think it's for Thomas, actually.
Oh, ping pong.
Okay, well, I married, my wife is Moroccan, and I can tell you there are very few people as kind and as generous as Moroccans. Look, I don't want to sugarcoat it. There are areas in every world. You can go to parts of the UK, parts of Italy, parts of Spain, where things get a little bit less friendly. There have been incidents where things are thrown at the cars by little kids. My experience is you stop the car, you pretend to get out, and the speed at which they run is really quite remarkable. There is that. Legacy has it that they used to get gifts from a Moroccan rally, which was called the Rallye des Gazelles. So when the cars used to go through, they got candies, pens, and regalia. Obviously, to keep the costs low, we don't do that anymore. And they're like, well, hang on a minute. So they'll throw, a shoe or you to say, it is customary to give us a memento of your passage. It's a very limited thing. We speak obviously to the local authorities to make sure that they get the brief not to disrupt international travel. As you can imagine, tourism from Morocco is one of the significant, economic contributors to the growing economy. So everybody other than the juvenile delinquent is on board with us, which obviously makes it as safe as you could possibly think.
All right, thank you, Thomas. Before I come to a question from the floor, I've got one here from David Bundy. How will we get ourselves and our cars back from Dakar?
So,
Okay.
Yeah.
There are, there's 2 ways. One, you drive it back. Let's be honest, that is always an option. But we will be working with Cars Worldwide to come up with a package or any other transport to basically ship your car back from Dakar back to the UK or wherever in the world you want it taken.
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons why Dakar became an important destination for us to kind of pursue is the fact that there's so much local knowledge, even from the local fixers and infrastructure after so many years of being at the forefront of important international rallies, that I don't see that as a problem. And so yeah, it'll be the standard Cars Worldwide or other operators that ship from that part.
Right, who would like to ask a question from the floor? Caitlin's ready with the microphone. Here she comes.
It's a simple one.
Yes, but I need you to use the microphone for the stream.
What's the date? When's it going to run?
It is the 19th of September to the 7th of October 2027. And this will all be live on the website the minute we finish.
Right, great. So while we're doing that, what is the availability and quality of fuel like on the route, please? That's from Rick Turner.
Rick, how are you? No problems in your Bentley. Look, the quality of fuel in if you want emerging markets isn't as high as here. Pre-war cars are very, very resilient with it. Because you're not shipping the cars over, but you're driving them over, bring some octane boosters from that perspective. So we haven't really had any particular I can't comment on Mauritania because I haven't been there or Senegal. But usually the get out of jail card here is either jerry cans with good fuel, boosters, and lots of fuel filters. So if you have picked up dirty fuel as opposed to bad fuel, you can get out of a pickle. But yeah, generally long distance events, you want to kind of detune your car so that it can run better with low octane or poorer fuel as a general rule.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, from my point of view, John will obviously report back after he's done the recce, but certainly in Morocco we had no issue with basically at least 92 octane and available nearly everywhere, specifically in the big cities as well. It is just the remote locations sometimes where you might find that the quality of the fuel is a bit lower. So we always suggest that people, you make sure you fill your tank at the good petrol stations and top up at the more remote or ethnic fuels. So you're mixing the good and the bad fuel.
Stay on the microphone. Have a question for you, Guy. From Martin Andrew. How much time is there likely to be between the end of this rally and the shipping of the cars to P2P in 2028?
I would say in reality, probably, and again, this will be a question for cars, but I would suggest that the cars would probably be back in the UK within a month of finishing in Dakar. So they'd be back in the UK mid to early November. And realistically, until we have the shipping dates for P2P, which would probably be, my best guess would be March. So you're going to have 4 months basically between the cars coming back, and then, as would be my best guess.
Yeah, so all those, just to add to that, so we have a number of participants on the 2028 P2P who have been, or their acceptance is conditional to participating in the Sahara Challenge, just so that if they don't like the format, they don't have to commit to 6 weeks of P2P. If you're looking to do both and you have been already accepted and you wanted to do it, just make sure you give your mechanic, your preparers, enough time to lock out the period in which the cars come back to get them re-prepped before they go off on P2P. If they pick up so just pre-book the availability that your preparers are ready to service your cars for that.
Okay. Other question from the floor? Journalists, looking at journalists. Any questions?
I have a question.
Wait for the microphone. There we go. Microphone.
When my car broke down in Greece, Thomas was able to find a Rolls-Royce specialist close by to mend the car. Can you do the same thing in Morocco?
Well, Nigel, I will do that and more for you. I'll contribute by fixing the car as well.
I mean, from a mechanical assistance point of view, we will have our normal team of 3 or 4 sweep vehicles. Those of you who've been on our events before will know they can fix most things with a bent nail and a bit of baler twine, as I would call it, and they carry a wide range of general spares. But also, we rely obviously quite heavily on the fixers to find local facilities. Our mechanics are there to help you fix your car, not to fix it for you, is always the thing that we say. So you need to have a mechanical knowledge of your own vehicle, but they will be there to help you. And we very rarely fail to get a car to the finish unless it's a serious engine failure.
Okay, thank you, Guy. Right, we have a question from George Mandel in the south of France. He says, the area of the Moroccan Sahara has a few names, as the southern Sahara is still disputed in many parts. So it may be passable again, but how safe is it?
Well, the feedback that we've had from other organizers, Moroccan, obviously, officials, this is the disputed area, was a matter of recognition between Algeria, Morocco, Spain, obviously, had claims, and other, geopolitics. We know of tours having been run there last year with no particular issues. I spoke to the participants of that. We work closely with the Foreign Office. Look, security is the number one thing that we look at also. If you keep yourself to the coast, is the intel that we've been taking, that is a safe area on the main route. That's where the bivouac would be set up. The Polisario, who are the independents or the more active people within the geopolitical scene, tend to be more inland, where we're not going specifically to we don't want to look for trouble. But of course, if the circumstances change between now and then, Obviously, these are considerations, but this is what we do across all events. I mean, as soon as you put yourself out of Europe, you're subject to these risks. So for us, it's normal operating procedure to make sure that by the time we leave, we're as safe as possible. Morocco is also signatory to the Abraham Accord, which means it's got the recognition and the support of the United States when it comes to other. So Morocco has more friends than it has foes, and which led to obviously the recognition by international countries of Western Sahara, now called Moroccan Sahara.
Okay.
Hopefully that's answered the question.
Yeah, I'm sure it has. I'll wait for any feedback from that one. But in the meantime, there's a question that came earlier on, genuine question that came in from James Wheatley. And I think it was brushed off by Spills, but he asked, do you think a classic Austin champ could make it to Dakar? No, they're saying, I don't know. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, you asking me?
Yes, I am, Spills. The audience are going, nay, but you might have a different
I
view.
used to own an Austin Champ. In fact, it was the first car I was given by my father. And if you look at the map, it's all downhill from Lisbon to Dakar. So I think it can roll there. No, there's no reason why any vehicle can't make it. It just depends on the nut behind the wheel, really.
Yeah.
I mean, from our point of view, we had a Mini do Peking to Paris.
Yeah, true.
So any vehicle can be taken anywhere as long as it's prepared correctly and driven correctly.
Yeah,
Fiat
500.
500, yes, on Peking to Paris. So yes.
Absolutely. Okay, another question from the audience. Bob, you might have a question. No. Okay. Jack, you might have a question. Yeah, Caitlin, there's Jack. Here's a taker. Jack Phillips, the PR for Bicester Motion and spreader of good word.
How do you ensure that when you leave, that you don't leave anything else behind from an environmental point of view?
How do we make sure that so from an environmental perspective? Yes. Well, look, generally, as a company, we've been operating a division called Net Hero, within the Net Hero has the concept of environmentally responsible driving. So where possible, we offset our carbon footprint. I know that the whole industry is kind of a little bit questioning the efficacy of this, but these are the only tools that we have. When we've run rallies with sustainable fuel, these are advanced biofuels, or e-fuels. We do all of that to the extent it is possible. When it comes to physical, spillage is the only environmental risk that we have. Clearly, ground sheets and all the rest of it to protect, obviously the local soil. So, we are our mindset is that of showing the good example that we I think are bound to do. Innately, obviously, the classic car is the least pollutant thing out there. We've incurred the carbon footprint at the time of production. In some cases, if you're in the Pioneer class, it's more than 100 years ago, and it's somewhat a little bit better than manufacturing things on the other side of the world and then shipping them over here, because that also has carbon footprinting. But generally speaking, jokes aside, we are mindful to set the right example and to do whatever is available, which is sensible to be environmentally aware.
If I can add also from the hospitality side, where we have the chance or we have more than one option, we would always choose the greener hotel, the hotel that has strictly environmental processes in place and especially that source their produce locally.
Thank you.
And to reassure you, Thomas will not take the Itala. But I have another question, and that's administrative. What about carnets? Do we need a carnet to cross the borders, the different countries?
Carnets.
Carnets, basically, as I understand it, we will potentially need a carnet to go certainly into Morocco. And as we go through the event, we'll update people, but you will need a carnet because we definitely need one to go from Europe into Morocco.
Okay, I have another one from online. Thank you, Bob. It's coming from New Zealand, Peter Martin, and he put this in earlier as well. Please explain the difference between an endurance and a super endurance event, as I need to know if my body can take it at age of 64.
So 64 equals spring chicken. You start age in motorsport is after 85. Anything before you're good. Endurance, super endurance. Look, super endurance is the harshest of our formats. That doesn't make them impossible or silly. As John said, we have an eye on making sure that everybody has a decent chance to get to the finish. Of course, this is rallying. Part of it will be the preparation of you physically. If you are bound by many hours in the office, get out there, ride a bicycle, do some Pilates, try to get your core muscles going. Diets are important. You don't want to be, completely out of shape. And the same thing, frankly, applies to your car. So prior preparation prevents poor performance. Now, the super endurance versus the endurance will test that more. So that means that you'll have longer days, the terrains will be rougher, or we go into areas which are that we probably would not have chosen on an endurance event. And it's just packed up. The Sahara Challenge, specifically because it is also the elected shakedown for super endurance and the P2P, as well as, if you want, Badawi for those who registered with that. So that's really what the difference is, and we wanted to have a kind of a distinctive factor to have a different experience on an endurance event as opposed to a super endurance. So endurance could be Iceland, 2 weeks. That would be in a format of an endurance event. A London to Lisbon would be an endurance event. A marathon would be an endurance event. Other ones are rally. Super endurance is when they're tougher and longer.
Okay. Any more questions from the floor? Oh, right. Elliot Hughes from Magneto.
What's the most common mistake that you see people making on rallies like this, and how can they avoid doing that?
It's not spending enough time in the car in similar conditions as what you're going to achieve. People think, I know it's hot, I'll be okay. Yeah, you're okay for the first 6 hours or 2 days. Day 5, your patience runs very thin. People forget to hydrate themselves. They don't realize how quickly your sweat evaporates, and you detect dehydration when you're already dehydrated, and it takes about 48 hours to get out to your body to recover. It's taking things for granted. Now, you don't have to over-engineer. We're not asking you to do things that are impossible. We're user organizers. One of the reasons why myself or Patrick try to do as many events as possible is so that we have a real pulse on the ground. And we're battling it out, usually with kind of quirky cars in a slightly difficult format compared to others, just to be there along the ground. So poor preparation or underestimating. Just be humble, and you'll have a clearer run.
I think one of the most important things, and talking to other competitors who have, you need to have, if you're going to drive your car 5,000 kilometres over 18 days, you need to have driven your car at least 1,500 or 2,000 kilometres before you start, even if it's on the highway in the UK, Europe, wherever. So is that seat still comfortable after I've sat in it all day? Can I reach all the switches? What happens when I need this? What noises am I used to? Is it too loud? You need to drive your car. We've had people who have turned up in Beijing and have never sat in their car. And then 2 days in, they've got bad back because the seat doesn't fit them properly, or the navigator can't reach the switches on the dash when he's got his seatbelt on. Yes. You'd be amazed at the people who you need to drive your car. That is one of the things, as Thomas says. Yeah. Prepare for what you're going to do, but you're spending probably more time in that car than you will probably want to spend in, so make sure it's as comfortable as possible.
Good. Happy with that?
Yep.
Right, one more question.
Thank you. Good afternoon. What's the availability of replacement tyres?
That's a very good question. So by experience, most of the tires that we've seen run on the different cars that take part of our events have about 8,000 kilometers range. That goes from Blockley for pre-war cars to some of the other tires. The recommended tires for these events are actually van tires. People think that, oh, it's a rally, and they get the super grippy stuff that blisters in the heat, delaminates much quicker because they're thought of for stints, rally. So van tires are actually very, very resilient in terms of how many miles, and they've got reinforced sidewalls that give you an extra level of protection for some of the jaggedy stones that you find, or cracked concrete that you just clip the side and then you've got a puncture all of a sudden.
I mean, a 10-ply sidewall tire is what you want, and van tires are that's what we put on all our vehicles. And that gives you that. But we always recommend you carry at least 2 spares. Sure, so you've got that. But you'll be amazed what you can find wherever you are in the world. It might be not the make or type of tyre you want, but it will be the right size. And you will find that certainly on Peking Paris, I think the record was somebody who came with the rally tyres ended up with replacing them after 3 days, and then constantly was looking for tyres to replace. But you will always find tyres on the road. Our sweep mechanics are very resourceful, trust me, in both fixing tyres that have got hole punctures in.
Look, in our fixers, so people don't necessarily know. Morocco, for example, is within, if you consider it part of the Mediterranean basin, is now the largest producers of cars in the Mediterranean basin. Renault, Nissan, all the rest of it. Their infrastructure and engineering and industry has really picked up over the last 30 years. So in so long as we are within Morocco, it'll take, these guys will go, you need 4 tires. They will drive through the night and rejoin you so you can have your, through our fixers. This has happened to me. I welded the chassis of my Bentley 2 years ago. I didn't see a rut. I was driving to Allegro Andante, to say that. And we re-welded it in the middle of the desert. Yeah, fine. People in if you want, emerging markets or whatever, not in the Western world, are so more resourceful than what we have become here. These are minor problems. Tires is really not, unless it's a profile tire, which is difficult to get, in which case, we can, if we know in advance, we can mitigate that point.
I think that goes for anything. Classic example is the recce for the last Sahara. The engine on our recce car failed, or recce Hilux failed, and within 2 days, we'd acquired a new engine, and it was fitted in a backstreet garage somewhere in wherever Mr. Spiller found, with not a bar apparently, which was the bigger problem, not to get the engine fitted. And so you can get anything done anywhere in these emerging countries without any great problem, I would say, Thomas.
Good. Any more questions from the floor? We have no more questions at the moment coming in online. They seem to be quite happy. So what I would remind everybody is that the entries will be open at the end of this session. So you go on to our heroera.com website and go onto the page for Sahara. So the Sahara Challenge 2027, and that entry page will be open. If you need to ask more questions, then go send them to us on info@hero-era.com, and we'll answer those questions for you as soon as we possibly can. And a reminder from Thomas and from Guy and from Ellie that early entries in this first week get a 5% discount, and for drivers who are under 35 years of age at the time of entering, you get a 30% discount. It's a hugely exciting event. The fact that we're going to Dakar, our thanks to John Spiller in Dubai. John, thank you very, very much indeed. Just cranking up a final cigar there. Thank you, John. Much appreciated as ever. The old man of the desert. That's And thank you very much indeed, Guy. Thank you very much, Ellie, and thank you, Thomas. Thank you, everyone, for being with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan.